Every day, we see cars driving, and more specifically, we see them making U-turns and turns in general. If we assume that the car is moving with a centripetal acceleration, we can determine that the mass does not affect its velocity. And the only factors that affect the car's velocity when it doesn't slip is the coefficient of static friction, the acceleration due to gravity, and the radius of the curve. Now, if we want to know the fastest velocity that the car can go around the turn without slipping, we're going to have to look at the forces acting on the car. If we assume the coefficient of static friction is 1.2 and the radius of the curve is 10 meters, we can solve for the specific speed of the car. Now, to solve this problem, we have to look at the forces, or the components of the forces. So, in the x direction, we see that the only force acting on it is friction. So therefore, mu, or static friction, coefficient of friction times normal force equals ma. And in this case, A is the acceleration of centrifugal force. And now in the y direction, we can tell that the normal force equals the force due to gravity, so N equals mg. Since now we know N, we can plug N back into friction equals ma and solve for V, because the A in this case is equals to V squared over R, because the A is the acceleration, centripetal acceleration. So when we solve for V, we find out that V equals the square root of mu s g times r. And in this case, with mu s being 1.2 and r being 10 meters, we find out that the velocity, the fastest velocity, or the maximum velocity of the car around the turn is 10.84 meters per second. Hopefully now, when we see a car going around a turn, we can relate it to what we know in physics. If we know the coefficient of static friction, the radius of the curve, we can find out what the maximum velocity without the car slipping around that curve.